تبارك الله رب العالمين.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله الذي جعل ذكره طمأنينة للقلوب وجلاء لها عن عين الذنوب ومطردة لوسواس الخناس المكذوب، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد الداعي إلى كل فعل محبوب وأمر مطلوب، وعلى آله وأصحابه المقتفين سبيله على خير أسلوب. أما بعد، فيقول رب تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المنزل: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وقضى ربك ألا تعبدوا إلا إياه وبالوالدين إحسانا إما يبلغن عندك الكبر أحدهما أو كلاهما فلا تقل لهما أف ولا تنهرهما وقل لهما قولا كريما. صدق الله العظيم. Today we are on our 6th lesson on parent-child relations and on our 4th exhortation in the Quran, after having looked at وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, having good conduct towards parents, and having looked at خَفْضُ جَنَاح, lowering the wing of humility, and last week قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. Today we will look at the word uff, for this is one of the specifics in the Quran where Allah has specifically mentioned this word and what it means, where it came from, and what are the implications of it. But before I do so, I'd like to quickly talk about, do a quick summary of what we did last week, which was to recognize that qawlan karima, when Allah says to use qawlan karima, a kind word to your parents, that is rooted in a deep sense of meaning that goes all the way back to Allah Himself. فَهُوَ أَكْرَمُ الْأَكْرَمِينَ, and His Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is Rasulun Kareem, and he describes this in the Quran, وَإِنَّهُ لَقَوْلُ رَسُولٍ كَرِيمٍ. And interestingly enough, when he describes Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam as Kareem, as noble, as kind, and as generous, he refers to his qawl, his speech, as primary. But that was not all that we talked about. We said that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was kind and generosity that surpasses all human examples of generosity, even that of Hatim Tai and all those who will ever claim to be generous. Because Rasulullah ﷺ would give a whole valley in charity, a whole valley of livestock in charity, and may sleep at night hungry. Yes, he was the ruler. He was the de facto ruler of the Arabian Peninsula. After Fath Makkah, he was the ruler, de facto ruler. He was Nabi, he was prophet, but he was in charge. And yet, when he died, when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam died, his shield, his armor, his shield, his metal shield was pawned with a Jewish trader in exchange for food for his family. These are examples that are surpassed, that are unsurpassed in human history. The earth have never seen like this generosity as Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And then we talked about qawlan karima, meaning qawlan jamila, qawlan nabila, qawlan karima, qawlan sahlan, qawlan tayyiban, qawlan hasanan, qawlan latifan. All of these, a beautiful, kind, soft, lovely speech, generous speech with our parents is required. And all of that is captured by this qawlan karima. And we also talked about where do we set the boundary for abandoning our parents? Where do we set the bar? And I explained to you that it is not me who is placing the importance of this next to the importance of the worship of Allah. It is Allah Himself. وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. The juxtaposing is one of Allah Almighty. He's the one who has placed them next to each other. And so one should not lose sight of this. قول العبد المذنب للسيد الفض الغليظ. When Sayyid ibn al-Musayyib was asked, how do you describe قولا كريما? He was told that, look, this is the speech of a sinful servant in front of a harsh master. How do you speak? You choose the best words, you say the best things. And the Sahaba knew this, they did. They practiced not only the generosity of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but with their words, the way they treated each other, the way they treated their parents. That they would give preference to others even in the state of adversity. Now today, this exhortation is فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفْ. And as I said, we need to understand where it comes from and where. I said to you before that this word uff, Allah is saying not to use uff with your parents. And this is, although it will be hard pushed to find it in dictionaries, other than Arabic, it is truly a universal language. Because if in every language you see, if you ask someone what does uff mean, they will tell you that it's something undesirable. But you wouldn't find it in dictionaries, and that is because it is rooted in an embodiment of the way we behave with our bodies. And this is explained. Imam Qurtubi rahmatullah alayhi mentions the qawl of Imam al-Qutabi, and he says that asluhu, that where it comes from, the origin of it, the etymology of it is that asluhu nafkhuka shay يسقط عليك من رماد وتراب وغير ذلك. That it is your blowing of dust, of ash or dust on yourselves away. When you puff, that plosive blowing of air, it's about getting rid of things that are undesirable. And that is why this word uff is also used in Arabic لكل شيء مستثقل, for every burdenous thing, everything that is of a burden, because burdens are to be gotten rid of. So that is why this word uff is known as كل شيء كل كلمة لكل مستثقل. So that's the first meaning. A second meaning is ضجر. كلمة الضجر, which is rebuke. It is used for rebuking because it is something undesirable. And in fact, the third meaning is that it is wasakhul azfar wal udhun, that it is the dirt that you find under the fingernails and the dirt you find in the ears. That is also called uff wa tuff. And then number 4 is a tuff shay'an kullu shay'in haqir. Every despicable thing is also called uff, is also called tuff. Uff and tuff. Now in Arabic, there are 10 versions of the pronunciation of this word. And there are some variations even in the qira'at. It is revealed in different qira'at. But as far as Arabic is concerned, it is complete. There are 10 different words. We have uffa, uffi, uffu, uffan, uffin, uffun, afa, and if, uffa, and afan. Now, all of these 10 variations of it, what do you say to someone who you have become displeased with? You say, I'm off with you. Off. And this is an Arabic word. Off, the same off. I'm off with you. So this off and off is a depiction of things of rebuke. Another meaning is a natn, which is things that you associate with stench and putrid things that you want to avoid. So now, if we take all these meanings of rebuke, of despicable, contemptible things, the things we disregard, another meaning is marfud, rafd, things that you would like to reject, things of rejection. So this is why the ulama say, إِنَّمَا صَارَ أُفْ لِلْأَبَوَيْنِ أَرْدَأَ شَيْءٍ لِأَنَّهُ رَفْضَهُمَا. That it has become the worst of things because in this word uff, there is a rejection in the heart of it. There is rejection of the parents. And how? Rafdu kufr ni'am. It is, first of all, being ungrateful. So rafd is rejecting of the great kindness that your parents had for you. And then also, it says, and وَجَحْدُ التَّرْبِيَةِ وَرَدُّ الْوَصِيَّةِ is the guidance and the exaltation that Allah is giving you in the Quran. التي أوصاه الله عز وجل في التنزيل. Allah is saying وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانِ, that we are giving you command and we are giving you advice. So for this, it is important to bear in mind the need of all these variations of it to be borne in mind, that when this uff comes, the translation is that yes, it is a ba, something very low, and as they say, Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu said, لو علم الله من الأقوق شيئا أردع من هذا أو أدنى منه. If he knew that something was less than this or worse than this, then he would have mentioned it. If Allah knew that there was something more worse than this. So he's saying that if you should not even say uff, that means everything that above it, swearing, shouting, cursing, speaking harsh, using harsh words to our parents, all of that are included in the uff when you say it. Now, I promised you that I was going to tell you about the source of this. Now, there is a quote also by Imam Qurtubi who says, Imam Abu Lays Samarqandi said, لو لم يذكر الله تعالى في كتابه حرمة عقوق الوالدين لكان يعرف بالعقل أن خدمتهما واجبة. That if Allah did not mention it, even if Allah did not mention it in the Quran, it would have been known simply by human reasoning that the service of your parents and being good to parents is wajib, is compulsory, because natural fitrah of the human being should guide you to that. But what has happened? Why has it changed? Why is in today's world, it is okay to shout at your parents and to speak to them in harsh words and to use much worse words than uff? Why is that? So, the blame culture, the blame your parents culture. And I told you that this has roots in several areas, but one of the main areas is that of the teachings of Sigmund Freud, who believed that one of the main functions of psychoanalysis was to bring hidden anger towards parents into conscious awareness, and that he argued that in so doing, you would free the patient from symptoms of psychosis. Interestingly enough, there was, a few years ago, a study in 72 countries, of people from 72 countries, 32,000 people were surveyed. And they found that when you blame parents, instead of solving your psychological problems, it makes you more vulnerable to mental illness. Those who indulge, those who dwell in this is what the research is saying. So it's completely disproven. But yet today in our world, ask who is the most influential thinker of the 20th century, and people would probably say Einstein, but it's not, because in the words of the psychologist, or famous psychologist, he says, in popular culture, psychotherapy is identified with psychoanalysis. Freudian theory, with its focus on interpretation of ambiguous event, lies at the heart of it. More than Einstein and Watson and Crick, and more than Hitler and Lenin, Roosevelt and Kennedy, more than Picasso and Eliot and Stravinsky, more than the Beatles or Bob Dylan, Freud's influence on modern culture has been profound and long-lasting. This is the thing that will remain, that it's long-lasting, it's profound, because what happens is that it permeates the culture that we are in. Popular culture, like dramas, TV, books we read, fiction. You look at stories that even children are told how to challenge your parents. So that permeates, it comes, and we feel that it's okay to do so. Now what happens with that is that you end up into a problem which is described in the Quran, where Allah describes this problem, because 24.5% of Muslims, people born in Muslim homes in the Western world, are leaving their faith. They're having problems with their faith. So that is 1 in 4. That's the statistics. Now, what's happening here? I looked at it and I tried to study where does this all begin? And I find that the chronology of it begins with harsh speech to their parents. That's where it begins. Exactly as Allah says in the Quran. And that's what I want to end today with. We have a very short time. I can't say everything I need to say. But Allah describes a conversation that's happening in and around, especially in many homes that I see. And when I speak to people, I find when I speak to these people who are having to leave who are the parents who are suffering this tragedy of their children telling them they no longer believe, we find that in the Quran, Allah is also, when I look back at the chronology where it starts where harsh language is used to the parents, and then it progresses. Slowly and slowly, the child no longer cares about the feelings in the heart of the parent. And then it repelled. So Allah is using the same word, uff, and the verse continues, and He says, وَالَّذِي قَالَ لِوَالِدَيْهِ uff, and the one who says to his parents, uff, and the one who says to his parents, uff. وَالَّذِي قَالَ لِوَالِدَيْهِ أُفٍّ لَكُمَا أَتَعِدَانِنِي أَنْ أُخْرَجْ وَقَدْ خَلَتِ الْقُرُونُ مِنْ قَبْلِي. Are you saying to me, the one who says uff, Allah is first saying that he says uff, that this is the person who is using harsh words. He's saying to his parents, أَتَعِدَانِ, are you telling me that I'll be brought out from the grave again when there are so many generations that have passed and they have gone into oblivion? He's saying, this is what Allah is saying. He's capturing this painful moment of children, of parents talking to their children who are losing their faith, and they're losing. And he's starting where the chronology begins. الذي قال لوالديه أف, the one who uses harsh words to his parents. So he's saying, الأخرج وهما يستغيثان الله, and they are seeking, they are begging Allah. Istighatha is when you are suffering, you are in a very terrible situation, when you're either drowning or you're dying from thirst. That is istighatha. So they are begging Allah, they are shouting out to Allah, oh Allah, yastaghithanillah, waylika amin. Oh believe, oh woe be to you, believe in Allah, inna wa'dallahi haqq, that verily the command of Allah, the promise of Allah is true. And the response is like water on a duck's back. Nothing happens. What happens? His response is that child that said uff. His response here is فَيَقُولْ مَا هَذَا إِلَّا أَسَاطِيرُ الْأَوَّلِينَ, that this is nothing but fairy tales of the old fairy tales. This is what happens. So this is the chronology that Allah has said. And then the ayah continues, أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ حَقَّ عَلَيْهِمُ الْقَوْلُ فِي أُمَمٍ قَدْ خَلَتْ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ مِنَ الْجِنِّ وَالْإِنسِ إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا خَاسِرِينَ. It is like these, people like these upon whom the word of condemnation is fixed, and that these, of the people who have come, of the generations before, of the jinn and men, and أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْخَاسِرُونَ, they are the losers. They are the losers. So it starts, look at the chronology of the use of this word. And the use of this word, Allah is identifying you, the use of the word uff, to know that nothing above it is allowed. So when we speak to our parents, we should recognize that, as Ibn Abbas says, that a person, and this is the hadith I will end with today, he says, مَا مِن مُؤْمِنٍ لَهُ أَبَوَانٍ فَيُصْبِحُ وَيُمْسِي وَهُوَ مُحْسِنٌ إِلَيْهِمْ, that if every person who has two parents, and he is good to them in the morning and the evening, إِلَّا فَتَحَ اللَّهُ لَهُ بَابًا مِنَ الْجَنَّةِ, except that Allah opens two doors to Jannah. Shaitan wants you to be ungrateful. Anishkud li wa liwalidayk, Allah is saying, thank me and thank your parents. But Shaitan wants to take you to Jahannam. And here you're told, Ibn Abbas is saying that two doors are open to Jannah. And in another, it said, so if you have two doors open, or as one was seen crying at the grave, and he asked him, what is it? And he said that كان لي بابان مفتوحان إلى الجنة. His mother died and he was crying, and they asked him, why are you crying? Why is it? And he said that I had two doors open to Jannah, and today مفتوحان إلى الجنة وأغلق أحدهما, and today one of my doors to Jannah is closed. How many of us have both doors open still? We have the opportunity to use those doors to enter into Jannah, to use those doors to get before they close, because once they close, they will never be opened again. May Allah bless us with the realization that our words is the beginning of one word can change your life for the best in the akhirah, and can change it for the worse in the akhirah. And this word is uff. It's the slightest word, it's the slightest, and everything above it. The controlling of the tongue is most important in the presence of your parents. Wa jazakumullahu khaira. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
تبارك الله